whispers of the forgotten village. You never planned to stray far from the trail. It was just supposed to be a short camping trip with friends. Laughter. Stories by the fire, the deep hush of the forest at night. But then something strange caught your eye. A flicker of movement. A sound that didn't belong. You turned. And when you looked back, your friends were gone. Now you wander alone, deeper into the trees than you ever meant to go. Then, just as panic begins to rise, you see it. An old path swallowed by roots and shadow. At the end of it, a forgotten village is silent, abandoned, but not empty. Something is calling you, something ancient, and once you step into the village, there is no way back. The Village Beyond Time, a calming bedtime story in 5 chapters. Chapter 20. The Lost Path. You breathe in deeply, letting the crisp mountain air fill your lungs as you walk along the forest trail. The afternoon sun filters through the canopy above, casting gentle patterns of light and shadow across the moss-covered ground beneath your feet. Your friends' voices drift back to you on the soft breeze, their laughter growing fainter as they continue ahead on the main path. You pause for a moment, drawn by something you cannot quite name. A pull toward the deeper parts of the forest, where the trees grow thicker and the world grows quieter still. The hiking group you joined this morning seems so far away now, though you know they are only a few hundred yards ahead. You check your phone, noting how the signal bars have disappeared entirely. But somehow this doesn't concern you. There is something peaceful about being disconnected, something that feels almost necessary. You notice a small side trail, barely visible through the undergrowth, winding away from the main path like a secret whispered by the forest itself. The trail is narrow, overgrown with ferns and wildflowers, as if nature has been slowly reclaiming it for years, decades perhaps, without fully understanding why. You find yourself stepping onto this forgotten path. The moss beneath your boots is soft and silent, muffling your footsteps until you move like a ghost through the green cathedral of trees. Behind you, the voices of your friends fade completely, swallowed by the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant song of a stream. The trail winds deeper into the forest, leading you past ancient oaks whose trunks are so wide you could not wrap your arms around them all. Their bark is covered in soft moss, and small mushrooms sprout from their bases like tiny umbrellas. You run your fingers along the rough surface of one massive tree, feeling the slow pulse of life within. Time seems to move differently here. The afternoon light grows softer, more golden, filtering through layers of leaves that dance gently in the breeze. You realize you have been walking for much longer than you intended. But there is no urgency in this realization, only a calm acceptance of where the path is leading you. A stream babbles somewhere nearby, its voice joining the symphony of the forest. You can hear the soft splash of water over stones, the gentle murmur that speaks of mountain springs and hidden pools. The sound draws you forward, promising coolness and rest. The path curves around a massive boulder worn smooth by countless seasons of rain and wind. As you round this natural marker, the forest begins to change you. The trees here are different, older somehow, their branches intertwined in patterns that seem almost deliberate, as if they were planted by hands that understood secrets you have long forgotten. You notice strange markings on some of the tree trunks, not carved by human hands, but worn into the bark by time and weather. They form patterns that almost look like writing, like a language of curves and spirals that speaks to something deep in your memory. You pause to trace one with your finger, feeling the groove worn smooth by ages of rain. The air itself feels different here, thicker, charged with something you cannot identify. It reminds you of the moment before a thunderstorm, when the atmosphere hums with potential, but there are no clouds above, only the endless canopy of green leaves filtering the golden afternoon light. You continue walking, drawn forward by something beyond curiosity. The path is clearer now, as if more people once walked this way, though you see no recent signs of passage, no footprints in the soft earth, no broken branches or disturbed stones. Yet the trail winds confidently ahead, leading you deeper into this ancient part of the forest. Small clearings open up occasionally, circular spaces where wildflowers grow in profusion. Their colors are more vivid here, purples and yellows so bright they seem to glow in the filtered sunlight. Butterflies dance among the blooms, their wings catching the light like stained glass windows. You pause in one such clearing, feeling the sun warm your face, listening to the gentle buzz of bees at work. The silence here is profound, not empty, but full, rich with the sounds of growing things, the whisper of wind through leaves, the distant call of birds you cannot see. It is the kind of silence that invites contemplation, that wraps around you like a comfortable blanket and encourages you to simply be. You sit on a fallen log at the edge of the clearing, feeling no need to hurry. The bark is soft with age, worn smooth by weather and time. You close your eyes and let the forest sounds wash over you. The stream nearby, the rustle of small creatures in the underbrush, the gentle creak of tree branches swaying in the breeze. When you open your eyes again, the light has changed. The golden afternoon glow has deepened, taking on the warmer tones of early evening. You realize with a start that hours must have passed, but there is no panic in this realization, only a gentle awareness that time moves differently in this place. You rise from the log and continue along the path, noting how it has begun to descend slightly, winding down through a series of natural terraces carved by ancient waters. The stream you have been hearing grows louder, closer, and soon you can see glimpses of it through the trees. Clear water running over smooth stones, creating small pools that reflect the sky above. The forest floor here is carpeted with fallen leaves, layers upon layers of autumns past, creating a soft pathway that springs back with each step. The decomposing leaves release a rich, earthy scent, the smell of growth and renewal, of life returning to the soil to nurture new growth. Strange flowers bloom along the path, varieties you do not recognize. Some are tiny and delicate, like stars scattered across the forest floor. Others are larger, with petals that seem to shimmer in the fading light. Their fragrance is subtle but intoxicating, carrying hints of jasmine and something wilder, something that reminds you of childhood dreams. And you notice that the trees here grow in unusual formations, their trunks twisted and curved in ways that suggest great age. Some have grown together, their branches intertwining until it is impossible to tell where one tree ends and another begins. They form natural arches over the path, creating a tunnel of living wood that frames your passage. The path continues to descend, and you realize you are walking through what might once have been cultivated land. The trees, while ancient, show signs of having been planted rather than grown wild. They are spaced with a regularity that suggests human intention, though any cultivation must have ceased long, long ago. Stone walls appear occasionally, crumbling barriers that once might have marked property lines or garden boundaries. They are covered in moss and lichen now, nearly invisible beneath decades of growth. But their regular spacing suggests the ordered mind of someone who once called this place home. You run your hand along one such wall, feeling the individual stones fitted together without mortar. The craftsmanship is exquisite on each stone chosen and placed with care. The wall stands despite having no binding agent, held together by the careful balance of weight and fit, a testament to skills that have been largely forgotten. A bird calls from somewhere ahead, a liquid song that echoes through the trees. You have never heard its like before, but the melody is hauntingly beautiful, rising and falling in patterns that seem almost like a lament, or perhaps a welcome. It is impossible to tell which. The stream comes into view now, running clear and swift over a bed of smooth stones. Small waterfalls cascade from pool to pool, creating a gentle music that harmonizes with the bird's song. The water is so clear you can see every pebble on the bottom, every small fish that darts between the stones. You kneel beside the stream and cup some water in your hands. It is cold and sweet, with a taste that reminds you of mountain springs and clean rain. You drink deeply, feeling the coolness spread through your body, washing away the mild fatigue of your long walk. As you rise from the stream, you notice something that makes you pause. On the far bank, partially hidden by overhanging ferns, there appears to be a stone structure, regular shapes that are definitely not natural, suggesting human construction. You cross the stream on stepping stones that seem placed for exactly this purpose. The water swirls around your feet as you balance carefully from stone to stone. Each step sends small ripples across the surface, disturbing the perfect reflections of the sky above or on the far bank. You push aside the ferns and find yourself looking at what was once clearly a stone foundation. The corners are still sharp and true, though moss has claimed much of the surface. Wild roses have grown up through cracks in the stonework, their blooms adding splashes of pink and white to the ancient gray. This was once someone's home, you realize. The foundation is small but well built, with what might have been a doorway facing toward the stream. You can almost imagine the house that once stood here, simple but sturdy, built by hands that understood both beauty and utility. You follow what remains of the foundation, noting other signs of long-ago habitation. A depression that might once have been a well, a line of stones that could have marked a garden path, the remnants of what appears to have been a small orchard, ancient fruit trees that still bloom despite decades of neglect. The realization dawns slowly. Oh, this was not just one home, but a settlement, a community that thrived here in the deep forest, far from any road you know. The path you have been following was once their lifeline to the outside world. Now it leads only to ruins and memories. You continue exploring, finding more foundations, more evidence of lives once lived in this hidden valley. Some structures were larger than others, suggesting a small village with perhaps a meeting hall or place of worship. All are overgrown now, claimed by the patient growth of decades. The afternoon is fading toward evening. The light filtering through the trees has taken on the warm gold of sunset. Though you cannot see the sun itself through the thick canopy, you realize you should probably turn back. Try to find your way to the main trail before darkness falls, but something holds you here, a sense that your exploration has only just begun. You find what appears to have been the village center, a circular area where several paths converge. In the middle stands something that makes you catch your breath, a stone well, still intact, its rim worn smooth by countless hands that once drew water from its depths. Approaching the well cautiously, you peer over the edge. The shaft disappears into darkness, but you can hear the faint sound of water far below. A cool breeze rises from the depths, carrying scents of stone and earth and something else, something that reminds you of incense or sacred smoke. Carved into the rim of the well are symbols, similar to those you noticed on the trees, but clearer here, more deliberate. They form a continuous band around the circumference, a story told in stone. If only you could read the language. You trace the symbols with your finger, feeling their smooth edges, worn by weather but still clearly defined. Awe. There is something compelling about them, something that speaks to a part of your mind you rarely access. The patterns seem almost familiar, as if you had seen them before in dreams. The shadows are lengthening now, the forest taking on the deeper hues of approaching dusk. You know you should head back. But as you turn to leave the village center, Something catches your eye. A glint of light from one of the larger ruins. A warm, golden glow that seems out of place in the gathering gloom. You move toward the light, drawn by curiosity and something deeper. The ruin it comes from is more substantial than the others, the walls still standing in places to shoulder height. What remains suggests it was once an important building, perhaps the village meeting place or a house of worship. As you approach, you can see that the light comes from within the ruins, a warm, steady glow that flickers slightly, as if from a fire or lantern. But who could have lit it? You have seen no signs of recent habitation, no indication that anyone has been here for decades. You step carefully through what was once the doorway. The walls that remain are beautifully constructed, each stone fitted perfectly to its neighbors. The craftsmanship even finer than what you observed at the well. This was clearly a building of importance, built to last, built with love. Inside, the source of the light reveals itself. In what appears to have been the center of the main room, a small fire burns in a circle of stones. The flames dance gently, casting moving shadows on the walls. The wood burns without smoke, filling the space with warmth, but no acrid scent. Around the fire, the floor is clear, swept clean, as if someone has been maintaining this space, caring for it. But there are no footprints in the dust, no signs of recent disturbance. Only the fire burning steadily, as if it has been burning for years. Decades. Waiting, you sit beside the fire, feeling its warmth on your face. The flames are mesmerizing, dancing in patterns that seem almost like the symbols carved in the well, like a language written in light and heat. You find yourself relaxing. The tension of being lost, of being separated from your group, melting away in the fire's warm embrace. The ruins around you seem less empty now, less abandoned. In the firelight, you can almost see how they once were, walls complete and proud, a roof overhead, windows that welcome the morning sun. It takes little imagination to picture this as it was, a gathering place where the village came together, where stories were told and decisions made. You close your eyes and listen. The fire crackles softly. The stream murmurs nearby. The wind whispers through the trees. And underneath it all, something else. Voices, perhaps, so faint they might be imagination, speaking in a language you do not recognize, but which somehow feels familiar. The fire burns lower, the flames settling into a steady, hypnotic dance. You find your breathing slowing, matching the rhythm of the flames, in and out, deep and steady, the peace of this place settling into your bones, into your very soul. When you open your eyes again, the fire has settled to glowing embers, but the warmth remains, and something else, a presence, as if you are not alone in this ancient place, as if the stones themselves remember the hands that shaped them. The voices that once filled these spaces with life and laughter. You rise slowly, feeling rested despite your long day of walking. The embers cast just enough light to see by, and in that gentle glow, you notice something you missed before. In the far corner of the ruins, partially hidden by fallen stones, something glints, moving carefully over the uneven floor. You approach the corner. There, wedged between two large stones, is something metallic. You work it free carefully, mindful not to damage whatever it might be. It comes loose with a soft scraping sound, cool and heavy in your hands. By the light of the dying embers, you examine your find. It appears to be a small box, made of some metal that has not tarnished despite its obvious age. The surface is covered in the same symbols you have been seeing. But these are not carved. They appear to be inlaid, filled with some material that catches and holds the light. The box is warm to the touch, warmer than it should be, as if it holds some inner heat, some life of its own. There is no visible latch or hinge. But as you turn it in your hands, examining the intricate patterns, you feel something shift, a subtle movement, as if the box is responding to your touch. The symbols begin to glow, softly at first, then brighter, pulsing gently like a slow heartbeat. The light they emit is warm and golden, like sunlight, like the fire that has been your companion in this strange place. You feel no fear, only wonder, only a deep sense that you are exactly where you are meant to be. The box grows warmer in your hands, the light from the symbols spreading, illuminating the ruins around you. And in that growing light, something begins to change. The walls seem less crumbled, the stones more solid, as if the light is somehow restoring what time has taken away. You hold the box close to your chest, feeling its warmth spread through your body. The symbols pulse brighter now, in time with your heartbeat, in time with some deeper rhythm that seems to come from the earth itself, from the very foundations of this forgotten place. The world around you shimmers, like heat waves rising from summer pavement, like the air above a fire. Everything wavers, becomes uncertain, as if reality itself is becoming fluid, malleable, ready to be reshaped by will or wish, or some deeper magic. You close your eyes, holding tight to the warm box, feeling the light even through your closed lids. And when you open them again, everything has changed. The ruins are gone. In their place stands a building, whole and complete, built of the same stone, but fresh and new, unweathered by time. Light glows warmly from windows. Voices carry on the evening air, the sound of people, a community, life. You look down at your hands. The box is still there, still warm, but its light has gentled, settled into a steady glow that pulses like a sleeping heart, like a promise, like a doorway that has been opened and cannot easily be closed. The fire beside you burns bright and clean, no longer the small fire of embers, but a proper hearth fire, warming a room that is no longer ruins, but a gathering place, a heart of community, a home. And as you sit there, box in hand, fire warming your face, you realize that something fundamental has changed, not just in the world around you, but in you. You are no longer simply lost in the forest. You are somewhere else entirely, someone else, a place where time moves differently, where the past and present blur together like watercolors in the rain outside the building. You can hear voices, laughter, the sounds of a village going about its evening business, children playing, adults calling to one another, the ordinary sounds of life, but life from another time, another age, when this place was whole, when it was home. You rise from beside the fire, the box still warm in your hands, and move toward the door, toward the voices, toward whatever waits for you in this impossible place, this village that exists somewhere between memory and dream, between what was and what might yet be. Chapter 2. Whispers of the Forgotten. You step through the doorway and into a world transformed. The evening air carries the scent of wood, smoke, and cooking food, the warm aromas of bread baking, stew simmering, the comforting smells of home and hearth. But underlying these familiar scents is something else, something that speaks of ancient mysteries, of secrets held close. The village spreads before you in the gathering dusk, lanterns hanging from cottage, eaves cast pools of golden light along stone pathways. Gardens overflow with flowers and herbs, their fragrances mingling with the evening breeze. Everything is as it should be in a thriving community, yet somehow touched by something otherworldly, something that makes the very air shimmer with possibility. You walk slowly along the main path, the warm box still clutched in your hands. People move past you in the lamplight, dressed in clothes that seem to belong to another century, long skirts and sturdy boots, simple shirts and wool vests. Their faces are kind but distant, as if they see you, but do not quite register your presence, as if you exist in their world, but are not entirely part of it. A woman hurries by carrying a basket of fresh bread, the loaves still steaming in the cool evening air. Her hair is bound in a simple braid, her dress the deep blue of twilight. She nods to you as she passes, a polite acknowledgement, but her eyes seem to look through you rather than at you, as if you are a half-remembered dream, present but not quite real. Children's laughter rings from a nearby garden, where several young ones chase fireflies among the flowers. Their voices are clear and bright, untouched by the strange quality that seems to permeate everything else. When one of them looks your way, her eyes are curious but not surprised, as if visitors from other times are not uncommon here. You continue walking, drawn by an invisible current toward the heart of the village, The pathways are well maintained, lined with stones that have been worn smooth by countless footsteps. Gardens on either side burst with abundance, vegetables and herbs growing in careful rows, fruit trees heavy with blossoms that glow white in the lamplight. The cottage windows you pass are warmly lit, revealing glimpses of domestic life within. Families gathered around tables, sharing their evening meal. An old man sitting by his fire, reading from a leather-bound book. A woman spinning thread by candlelight, her wheel turning with a gentle rhythm that adds to the evening's symphony. But there is something strange about these glimpses, something that makes you pause and look more carefully. The scenes within seem to repeat, the same gesture made over and over, the same words spoken in endless loops, as if you are watching shadows of memory rather than living people, echoes of what once was rather than what is. You reach the village center, where the well stands just as you remember it. But now it is not alone. The circular space is paved with fitted stones. Benches arranged around the well's rim invite rest and conversation. A few villagers sit quietly, speaking in low voices that carry the cadence of ritual, of words that have been spoken exactly this way countless times before. The symbols carved into the well's rim glow faintly in the lantern light, pulsing gently like slow breathing. The box in your hands responds, its own light brightening, the symbols on its surface seeming to dance in response to those on the well. Two parts of some greater whole, recognizing each other across the years. You approach the well, and the villagers' conversation fades. They turn to look at you, their faces expectant, as if they have been waiting. But waiting for what? One of them, an elderly woman with silver hair, braided with ribbons, speaks to you in a voice like wind through leaves. The keeper has returned, she says, though her words seem to come from very far away. The circle turns. The pattern holds. What was lost seeks to be found. Her eyes are kind but ancient, holding depths of knowledge that stretch back beyond memory, beyond the boundaries of ordinary time. Another villager, a man whose beard is streaked with gray, nods toward the box in your hands. You carry the heart, stone, he says, his voice equally distant, equally touched by that strange echoing quality. It has called you home, as it calls all keepers, when the time is right, when the village needs. You want to ask questions, to understand what they mean, but when you open your mouth to speak, no words come. Instead, you find yourself drawn to place the box on the rim of the well, directly above one of the symbol clusters. The moment it touches the stone, both box and well pulse with light, a warm, golden radiance that spreads outward in ripples, like stones dropped in still water. The light touches each villager, and for a moment they seem more solid, more real. Their eyes focus on you with sudden clarity, recognition, gratitude. But the moment passes, and they fade back into their distant reverie, their endless repetition of half-remembered actions. You lift the box again, feeling its warmth pulse through your palms, and continue exploring this impossible village. The main path branches into smaller lanes, each leading to clusters of cottages nestled among gardens and fruit trees. Every home is lovingly maintained, their windows glowing with warm light, their gardens perfected examples of careful cultivation. Down one lane, you discover what appears to be a workshop. The door stands open, revealing tools arranged with precise care. A potter's wheel, bins of clay, shelves lined with vessels in various stages of completion. The potter himself sits at his wheel, hands shaping clay with infinite patience. But the same bowl appears beneath his fingers again and again, never finished, never changing, caught in an endless moment of creation. In another workshop, a weaver sits at her loom. The pattern emerging under her hands is intricate, beautiful, incorporating the same symbols you have been seeing throughout the village. But like the potter, she is trapped in repetition, the same threads passing through, the same pattern emerging, never completed, never truly begun. You begin to understand. These are not truly people, at least not in the way you understand the word. They are memories, echoes of lives once lived, preserved somehow in this place, sustained by whatever power flows through the symbols, through the box you carry, through the village itself. The realization should be frightening, but instead brings a deep sadness, a sense of loss for something precious that has been scattered to the winds. These echoes are all that remain of a community, a way of life, a knowledge that has been forgotten by the wider world. You walk on, exploring side streets and hidden gardens. Each corner reveals new wonders. A library where books arrange themselves on shelves, their pages turning by themselves as if being read by invisible hands. A bakery where bread bakes itself, filling the air with the scent of yeast and grain. But no one tends the ovens. No one kneads the dough. In a small courtyard, you find what might once have been a school. Stone benches arranged in a circle around a central podium. On the podium stands a figure, translucent as morning mist, speaking to empty benches in a voice too distant to understand. The lesson continues, eternal and unheard, wisdom shared with ghosts. The box in your hands grows warmer as you explore, its light pulsing in response to certain locations, certain symbols. It seems to be guiding you, drawing you toward something, leading you through the village with gentle insistence, away from the main paths, into quieter areas where the shadows gather more thickly. You follow its pull down a narrow lane lined with ancient trees. Their branches arch overhead, creating a tunnel of living wood that blocks out most of the evening light. Here the air feels different, heavier, charged with potential. The whispers you have been hearing, just at the edge of perception now, grow slightly stronger. The lane opens into a secluded square, different from the others you have seen. The buildings here are older, built in a style that predates the rest of the village. Their stones are darker, covered with symbols that seem to move in the shifting light, windows that reflect not the evening sky, but something else. Something that makes you look away quickly. In the center of this square stands a building unlike any other, circular, built of the same dark stone, but covered so completely with symbols that they seem to writhe across its surface. The doorway is an arch, but not quite the right shape, as if it opens onto spaces that follow different rules, different geometries. The box in your hands is almost hot now. Its light so bright you can see it, even with your fingers wrapped around it. The symbols on its surface pulse rapidly, urgently, like a heart racing with excitement or fear. You approach the circular building slowly, each step requiring effort, as if the air itself is thickening, resisting your passage. The doorway has no door, only darkness, a darkness so complete it seems solid, tangible. You reach out tentatively, and your fingers disappear at the threshold, swallowed by shadow that feels cool and thick, like water, like oil, like something between liquid and solid. From within the darkness, voices drift, clearer than any you have heard in the village, speaking in languages you recognize and others you do not, but all carrying the same tone, the same urgency, the same note of warning, or perhaps invitation. It is impossible to tell which. You hesitate at the threshold, the box burning in your hands, the voices calling from the darkness. Part of you wants to step through, to discover what lies beyond. But another part, the part that still remembers the ordinary world, urges caution, whispers of dangers beyond imagining. As you stand there, torn between curiosity and prudence, the darkness begins to change, shapes moving within it, figures approaching from impossible depths. They are not quite human, taller, more graceful, with features that seem to shift and flow like water, like smoke, like dreams made manifest. One of them reaches the threshold, steps partially into the lamplight, and you see that it is beautiful, terrifying, ancient beyond measure. Its eyes hold the depth of stars, the wisdom of ages, the accumulated knowledge of civilizations that rose and fell before humanity took its first steps. It speaks, and its voice is like music, like wind through leaves, like water over stones. Child of the between times, it says, the bearer of the heart, stone. The circle turns, the pattern shifts. What was sundered seeks wholeness. What was forgotten remembers. Will you answer the call? Will you pay the price? The box in your hands pulses once, blindingly bright, and suddenly you understand. This village, these echoes, the strange repetitions and half-seen mysteries, all of it exists because of some great tragedy or some catastrophe that shattered the normal flow of time, left these fragments spinning in an endless loop, preserved but not live in awe, remembered but not real, and you, somehow, are the key, the one meant to either set things right or to join them in their endless dance of memory and shadow. The choice is yours, but the choosing will change everything. There will be no going back, no return to the simple world of hiking trails and ordinary concerns. The figure in the doorway extends a hand, long fingers that end in what might be claws, or simply fingernails grown beyond mortal length. Come, it whispers, see what was, learn what must be, choose what will become. The heart stone has chosen you, as it chose those before, as it will choose those after, if there are those after. Behind you, the village continues its ghostly pantomime. People who are not people going through motions they performed in life, trapped in amber moments, preserved but not preserved, living but not alive, waiting for someone, something, to break the cycle, to set them free, or to join them in their eternal repetition. You look down at the box, at the heart stone as the figure called it. Its light has gentled again, pulsing slowly, peacefully, as if it has done its part, brought you to this moment, this choice. The rest is up to you. Your will, your courage, your willingness to step beyond the boundaries of everything you have known. The voices from the darkness grow clearer, more insistent. They speak of time fractured, of reality bent, of a mistake made long ago that still echoes through the years. They speak of power and responsibility, of prices paid and prices yet to be paid. They speak of you, of your arrival, of the purpose that brought you to this place. And underneath it all, another voice, quieter, more familiar, speaking not in words but in feelings, in memories that are not your own, a sense of homecoming, of return, of something lost finally being found, the village, the heart stone, the choice before you, all part of some pattern larger than you can grasp, older than you can imagine. You take a step toward the darkness, the box warm in your hands, the ancient figure waiting patiently, its star-filled eyes reflecting depths you cannot fathom. Behind you, the village holds its breath, the endless repetitions pause, as if everything depends on this moment, this choice, this single step toward the unknown. The darkness parts before you like curtains, revealing not absence but presence, not emptiness but fullness, a space that contains more than space should be able to hold, more than your mind can quite process. You stand at the threshold between worlds, between times, between what was and what might yet be, and in that moment of perfect balance, perfect possibility, you hear it clearly at last. The voice that has been whispering at the edges of your perception, since you first found the overgrown path, since you first stepped away from the ordinary world into this realm of mysteries. It is your own voice, but older, wiser, speaking from some time and place beyond the present moment. Remember, it says, remember who you were, who you are, who you were always meant to become. The heart stone chooses truly, the circle completes itself. Step forward, step through, step into what awaits. And with the box pulsing warm against your chest, the ancient figure beckoning from the darkness, the village holding its breath behind you. You make your choice. You step forward, into shadow, into light, into whatever lies beyond the threshold of the known world. The darkness embraces you, cool and welcoming, like water, like air, like coming home after a long journey to a place you had forgotten you knew. And as you cross the threshold completely, as the ordinary world falls away behind you, you hear the village sigh, a sound like wind through trees, like waves on a distant shore, like the first breath of something long held sleeping, finally beginning to wake. Chapter 3. Through the rift. You emerge from the darkness into light, but not the gentle lamplight of the village evening. This is something else entirely, a radiance that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, illuminating without casting shadows, revealing without exposing. You stand in a space that defies understanding, vast as a cathedral, intimate as a garden, both and neither, all at once, The heart stone in your hands has changed. No longer a simple box. It has unfolded somehow, revealing its true nature, a crystalline structure of impossible complexity, facets within facets, geometries that hurt to look at directly, yet beautiful beyond description, each surface reflecting not light, but memories, moments, lives lived and lives unlived, all contained within its transparent depths. Around you, the space shifts and flows. Sometimes you stand in a great hall whose walls are lined with books, their spines glowing with inner light, knowledge waiting to be discovered. Sometimes you are in a garden where flowers bloom in colors that have no names, their fragrances carrying the essence of emotions, of dreams, of possibilities made manifest. The ancient figure moves beside you, no longer terrifying, but somehow familiar, like a distant relative whose face you recognize but cannot place. It gestures with one graceful hand, drawing your attention to what lies ahead. Behold, it says, its voice now warm as summer rain, the heart of all mysteries, the source from which the village draws its borrowed life, the wellspring of the between times. Before you spreads a vista that defies description, a landscape of memory and dream, where past and future blend like watercolors in the rain. You see the village as it was, truly was, bustling with real people, real life, children playing in sun-drenched streets, artisans at their work, families gathered for meals, love and laughter, and the ordinary magic of community. But layered over this, through it, around it, you see other times, other possibilities. The village in different seasons, different years, different states of being awe, sometimes prosperous, sometimes struggling, sometimes empty, sometimes so full of people the streets can barely contain them, all existing simultaneously, all equally real, all part of some greater pattern you are only beginning to glimpse. Time, the figure explains, sensing your confusion, is not the straight line your kind believes it to be. It is a river with currents and eddies, backwaters and rapids, places where the water pools, grows still, reflects what was, what might have been, what could yet be. You watch the layered visions or understanding dawning slowly, like sunrise over mountains. The village exists in one such pool, a place where time gathered, concentrated, preserved moments like insects in amber, but not quite alive, not quite dead, waiting for someone with the right key, the right understanding, to set the waters flowing again. The heart stone, you whisper, feeling its warmth pulse through your fingers. It's connected to all of this. It's what holds the pool together. The figure nods, its star-filled eyes reflecting approval. You begin to see the stone is both anchor and key, prison and liberation. It preserves, but it also limits, keeps safe. But keep still. The village chose this fate long ago, when faced with a choice between ending and this twilight existence. You see it then, the moment of choice, playing out in the crystal's facets, the village facing some great catastrophe, a darkness approaching, death and destruction riding on winds of change. The people gathered in the central square, around the well, voices raised in desperate debate, some calling for flight, others for fight, all knowing that neither would be enough. Then a figure steps forward, someone you almost recognize, carrying the heart stone in its simple box form, speaking words of power, of sacrifice, of a way to preserve what they loved, even if it meant giving up life as they knew it. The stone blazes with light, reality ripples war, and the village steps sideways out of the normal flow of time. They became echoes, you say, understanding flooding through you, preserved but not living, safe but not free, waiting for someone to complete the pattern, to make the choice they couldn't make. The choice. The figure agrees, between safety and risk, between preservation and growth, between what was due and what might yet become. The stone chose its first keeper, the one who made the original sacrifice, and has chosen each keeper since, drawing them here when the time is right, when the pattern demands completion. You look again at the crystal in your hands, seeing now the faces within its depths, previous keepers, men and women from different times, different places, all drawn by the same pull you felt, all faced with the same impossible choice. Some chose preservation, adding their strength to the pattern, becoming part of the village's eternal dream. Others chose change, set the waters flowing, let the village move forward into whatever waited, life or death, growth or ending. And now, you say, voice barely above a whisper, it's my turn. The figure's expression grows gentle, almost sad. The pattern turns, the cycle completes, the choice comes again, as it has come before, as it will come again, until someone finds the third path, the way between preservation and release, between safety and risk, between what was and what will be. The space around you shifts again. Now you stand not in the mystical between realm, but back in the village square. The real village, the one that exists in the pool of still time. But something is different. The endless repetitions have stopped. The echoes stand still, waiting, watching, all their ghostly attention focused on you. The heart, stone in your hands, pulses brighter, responding to their hope, their need, their desperate desire for resolution, for completion, for whatever comes next. You can feel their accumulated longing, decades of waiting, of existing without truly living, of preservation without purpose. An elderly woman steps forward, more solid than the others, her eyes clearer, more focused. "Keeper," she says, and her voice carries the weight of years, of endless repetition, of hope deferred but never abandoned. We have waited, preserved ourselves, kept the knowledge safe, the traditions alive, the ways of the old times intact. But waiting without purpose is not truly living. Others come forward, the potter with clay, stained hands, the weaver with thread, wrapped fingers, the baker dusted with flour, the teacher with ink, stained sleeves, all the echoes of the village, all the preserved fragments of lives once fully lived, all looking to you for what they cannot give themselves: choice, change, the courage to move forward into the unknown. We know the risk, the baker says, his voice soft as rising dough. If we step back into time's flow, we may not survive. The catastrophe that drove us here may still be waiting. The world may have no place for our ways, our knowledge, our simple truths. But this, adds the potter, gesturing to the frozen moment they inhabit. This is not life, only the shadow of life, the memory of living. We are like pots that were never fired, never tested, never completed, beautiful in our way, but fragile, unfinished, afraid to risk the flame that would make us whole. You feel the weight of their hope, their trust, their willingness to place their continued existence in your hands. The heart stone grows warmer, its light brighter, as if responding to their courage, their readiness to embrace whatever comes, even ending, if it means truly living first. But there is something else, another presence in the square, darker, more reluctant. You turn and see him, standing apart from the others, the first keeper, the one who made the original choice. His face is familiar now, because it is yours, or will be, or might have been, in some other turning of the pattern, some other possibility. I chose safety, he says, his voice heavy with regret, with the weight of decades of second guessing. When the darkness came, I chose to preserve rather than risk, to save what I could, rather than fight for what might be, and trapped us all. In this moment between moments, this breath between words, this pause between heartbeats, he approaches slowly, each step an effort, as if he walks through water, through resistance, through the accumulated weight of his own choices. I told myself it was wisdom, that preservation was noble, that keeping the old ways alive, even in this twilight state, was better than letting them die completely. But I was wrong. I was afraid, and my fear became their prison. The heart, stone in your hands, grows almost too hot to hold. Its light so bright you have to squint. The crystal structure within spinning, reorganizing, responding to the presence of its first keeper, to the possibility of choice, finally made right, of patterns finally completed, of time finally allowed to flow. You can break the pattern. The first keeper continues. Set them free. Let them step back into time's river. Face whatever waits, live or die, but truly live first. Or he pauses, looks directly at you with eyes that are mirrors of your own. You can choose as I chose. Add your strength to the preservation. Keep them safe. Keep the knowledge intact. Keep the old ways alive, even if it means keeping them trapped. The choice hangs in the air like morning mist, visible, tangible, waiting for your decision. Around you, the villagers wait with infinite patience. They have learned patience in their long twilight, but beneath their stillness, you sense anticipation, hope, the desperate desire to finally move forward. Whatever that might mean, you look down at the heart, stone, at the swirling patterns within its crystal depths, at the faces of previous keepers, at the moments of choice preserved like flowers pressed between pages, each decision adding another layer, another facet, another possibility to the infinite structure. And then, as you watch, a new face appears in the crystal, your own, but not as you are, as you could become, if you chose preservation, your features older, wiser perhaps, but marked by the same regret you see in the first keeper, the same weight of decisions made from fear, from the desire to keep safe what should perhaps be allowed to risk everything. But there is another image, fainter, harder to see, another possible you, this one marked not by regret, but by something else, peace, perhaps, the satisfaction of choice made rightly, of patterns completed, of time allowed to flow as it should, even knowing the cost, even accepting the risk. There is a third path. You say suddenly, the words coming from some deep place of knowing, some understanding that transcends logic or not preservation, not release, but transformation. The village doesn't have to choose between safety and risk, between what was and what might be. It can become something new, something that honors both, The first keeper's eyes widen, hope flickering like candlelight in their depths. The third path? We searched for it, dreamed of it, but could never see how, never understand what it might look like, what it might cost. You lift the heart stone, feeling its weight, its warmth, its infinite complexity. It costs everything and nothing. It requires letting go of what was, while carrying its essence forward, accepting change, while honoring continuity, stepping into the unknown, while remembering the wisdom of the past. The crystal begins to change, the facets within spinning faster, realigning, creating new patterns, new possibilities. The faces of previous keepers blur, merge, become something larger, something collective. All their choices, all their wisdom, all their love for this place and its people, combining into something greater than the sum of its parts. The village can return to time. You continue, understanding growing with each word, but not as it was, as it could become, the knowledge preserved, but not trapped all, the wisdom maintained all, but not stagnant, the community restored, but not unchanged, growing, learning, adapting, while keeping the heart of what made it special. Around you, the villagers begin to change, their ghostly forms gaining substance, color returning to their cheeks, life to their eyes, but they are not quite the same as they were in their preserved state. They are more, fuller, as if their time in the twilight has taught them things, given them perspectives they could not have gained through normal living. The first keeper smiles, the first genuine expression you have seen from him. Yes, he whispers, but yes, I see it now. The third path was never about choosing between alternatives. It was about transcending the choice itself, about finding the way that honors all possibilities, all truths, all loves. The heart stone in your hands begins to dissolve, but not disappearing, expanding, its crystal structure growing, encompassing, until you stand within it, until you are part of it, until the distinction between keeper and stone, between chooser and choice, fades into something larger, something unified, something complete. You feel yourself changing, not losing who you are, but becoming more. Your consciousness expanding to encompass the village, the villagers, the long years of waiting, the accumulated wisdom of preservation, the courage of release, the hope of transformation, all of it flowing together, merging, becoming something new. The village around you shifts, settles, finds its new form. The buildings remain, but renewed, not quite as they were, but not entirely different. The people are there, all of them, but changed, carrying within themselves the memory of their long twilight, the wisdom it taught, the patience it required, the love it preserved, and you are there too. Not as you were when you first stepped off the hiking trail, but not lost either. Part of the village now, part of its story, part of its future, keeper not of stagnation, but of growth, of change guided by wisdom, of progress rooted in love. Time begins to flow again, not the frozen moment of preservation, not the rushing current of pure change, but something between, something that honors both stillness and motion, both safety and risk, both memory and possibility. The sun rises over the village, not the artificial light of the preserved twilight, but real sunlight, marking real time, real days beginning and ending, real seasons turning, real lives being lived, but gently, carefully, with the wisdom of those who have learned the cost of both stagnation and reckless change. You walk through the streets, no longer as a visitor, but as part of the community, part of its past, part of its future. The heart stone's crystal pattern now woven through everything, connecting all, preserving what matters, allowing change where it serves, creating harmony between what was what is, and what yet might be, and in that walking, in that belonging, you understand at last why you were drawn from the hiking trail, why you found the overgrown path, why the heart stone chose you, not to preserve, not to release, but to transform, to find the third path, to show that some choices transcend choosing. Some answers encompass all questions. Some loves are large enough to hold all possibilities. Chapter 4. The Festival of Ashes days flow like gentle water now, each morning bringing new discoveries, new understanding of your place in this transformed village. You wake not in the cottage where you first sheltered, but in a home that has grown around you. Walls that shifted and settled until they fit your needs perfectly. Windows that frame views of gardens tended by hands both ancient and eternally young. The villagers have accepted you completely, not as an outsider who stumbled upon their secret, but as one who was always meant to be here, who simply took a longer path home. Their faces are familiar now, not just the ghostly echoes you first encountered, but living people with stories that span both their original lives and their long preservation. Their time in the between space has given them perspectives that shimmer like heat waves, deep insights into the nature of time, of love, of endurance. You spend your mornings learning their crafts, your hands guided by skills that stretch back generations. The potter's wheel teaches you patience, the rhythm of creation that cannot be rushed. Clay responds to pressure and gentleness in equal measure, teaching you the balance between force and yield, between intention and allowing, between shaping and being shaped. In the weaver's workshop, you learn the language of threads, how individual strands become something stronger when properly joined, how patterns emerge not from single decisions but from countless small choices, each crossing, each tension, each color contributing to designs that tell stories, that preserve memories, that create beauty from the simple act of connection. The baker's ovens show you transformation, how raw ingredients become nourishment through the marriage of heat and time, how patience and skill can turn the simplest elements into sustenance for body and soul. You knead dough while listening to stories, your hands learning the rhythm that has fed this community for longer than memory can reach. But it is the evenings that reveal the village's deepest secrets. When work is done and the last light fades from the western sky, when lanterns are lit and gathered in the central square, when the real education begins, not in crafts or trades, but in mysteries, in wisdom, in the strange knowledge that comes from existing between moments, between breaths, between heartbeats. Tonight is different. You sense it in the way people move, in the careful attention they pay to their preparations, in the way conversations drift toward subjects usually left unspoken. Tonight, you learn, is the festival of ashes, the night when the village remembers and honors and perhaps finally puts to rest the catastrophe that drove them into their long twilight. As darkness settles fully, you join the procession forming in the square. Each villager carries something, a candle, a small basket, a token crafted from clay or wood or woven thread. Objects that gleam in the lantern light, that seem to hold their own inner radiance, their own accumulated significance. The eldest woman, the one who first called you keeper, approaches with a basket woven from silver threads. Inside, you glimpse objects that seem to shift and change, sometimes tools, sometimes flowers, sometimes what might be tears crystallized into jewels, memory gifts. She explains, her voice soft as moth wings, tokens of what was lost, what was saved, what was learned in the saving. She places the basket in your hands, and you feel its weight, not physical, but emotional, spiritual. The accumulated grief and joy and wisdom of a community that chose preservation over ending, that learned the cost of safety, that discovered the price of avoiding risk, that finally found the courage to transform rather than merely endure. The procession begins to move, not toward the mysterious circular building where you first encountered the ancient figure, but in the opposite direction, toward a part of the village you have not yet explored, where the paths grow narrow, where shadows gather more thickly, where the air itself seems older, heavier with significance. You walk beside the baker, his arms full of loaves that gleam like gold in the flickering light. The festival comes once each year, he explains, his voice barely above a whisper. On the anniversary of our choosing, when we honor what we saved, what we lost, what we learned. It is celebration and mourning and acceptance, all woven together like threads in the weaver's loom. The path climbs gradually, winding between cottages that grow smaller, older, more primitive as you ascend. These are the original buildings. You realize the first structures built when the village was young, when its founders first found this hidden valley, first decided to make it home. The walls here are rougher, the windows smaller, the roof lines lower, but they radiate a particular warmth, a sense of beginnings, of hopes taking their first tentative shape. At the highest point of the village, where the final cottage gives way to wild forest, you find your destination, a grove of trees unlike any others in the valley. Their trunks are silver white, smooth as polished bone. Their leaves shimmer with an inner light that makes the very air around them glow. In the center of the grove, a single tree stands apart, larger than the others, its trunk marked with the familiar symbols, but burned into the wood rather than carved, as if branded by fire, by lightning, by forces beyond ordinary flame. The procession forms a circle around this central tree, each villager finding their place as if guided by long habit, by ritual repeated so many times it has worn grooves in memory itself. You find yourself standing before the great tree, the basket of memory, gifts heavy in your hands, the carved symbols seeming to pulse with their own heartbeat, their own life. The eldest woman steps forward, her silver hair catching the light from the glowing leaves, her face serene but marked by depths of experience that stretch beyond normal human endurance. Tonight, she begins, her voice carrying to every corner of the grove. We remember the night the sky burned, the night we faced our choice, the night we chose preservation and learned both its gifts and its costs. Around the circle, other voices join hers, speaking in harmony, in rhythm, in the cadence of story that has been shaped by countless tellings. We were farmers then, craftspeople, merchants, teachers, ordinary folk living ordinary lives. We had our troubles, our disagreements, our small failures and smaller triumphs. But we were content. We were home. We were enough. The baker's voice adds its note to the chorus. Then came the rumors, stories from the outer world, of changes, of upheavals, of old ways being swept aside, of communities like ours being forgotten, abandoned, left to fade as the world rushed toward futures we could not imagine. We thought ourselves safe, hidden, protected by our distance from the great currents of change. You listen, feeling the story unfold not just in words but in images, in emotions, in memories that seem to flow from the basket in your hands, from the symbols on the tree, from the very air around you. You see the village as it was, smaller then, simpler, but vibrant with the particular life that comes from people who know their place, who understand their purpose, who are rooted in something larger than themselves. The weaver's voice joins the telling. But isolation is not protection, and distance is not safety. The changes came anyway, not as invasion, but as absence, as forgetting, as the slow erosion that comes when the world moves on, leaves you behind, stops seeing you as part of its story. Trade routes shifted, markets closed, children left for opportunities elsewhere. We were not destroyed. We were simply overlooked, left to fade like flowers pressed between pages E. You see it happening, the gradual emptying, the slow death that comes not from violence but from irrelevance. Young people departing for places that offered futures, older ones dying without replacements, shops closing not from disaster, but from lack of customers, the village not dying dramatically, but simply, quietly, sadly, becoming less than it was day by day, year by year, until only a remnant remained, clinging to ways that no longer seemed to matter, to wisdom that no longer seemed wanted. The potter's voice adds its melody to the growing song. And then, on the night when our despair was deepest, when we faced the truth that our way of life was ending, that our knowledge would die with us, that our children's children would never know what we had built here, what we had learned, what we had loved. That night, the sky burned, the images flow stronger now. You see the night, feel its terror, its wonder, its impossible beauty, stars falling like rain, streaking across the darkness in patterns that hurt to perceive directly. The air itself catching fire, burning without consuming, transforming without destroying, and in that celestial conflagration, voices speaking in languages older than human speech, offering choices, demanding decisions, presenting alternatives that no mortal should have to face. We could let it end. The eldest woman's voice rises above the others. Accept the natural course of things. Let the village fade. Let the knowledge disappear. Let the love we had built here scatter to the winds. It would have been natural, expected, the way of all things under time's dominion, birth, growth, decline, death, the eternal cycle. Or her voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries more force than shouting. We could step aside, preserve what we loved, keep it safe from time's erosion, from change's destruction, from the world's forgetting. We could become guardians, keepers, witnesses to our own story, even if it meant, even if the cost was. The silence that follows is heavy with implication, with the weight of choice made, of prices paid, of consequences accepted. Around the circle, every face reflects the same expression, love and regret intertwined, gratitude and sorrow married, the complex emotions of those who chose safety and learned its true cost. What chose preservation? The baker says finally, his words falling like stones into still water. We accepted the offered bargain, stepped sideways out of time's river, into the quiet backwater where change could not touch us, where loss could not reach us, where we could keep forever what we loved, at the cost of never again experiencing, never again growing, never again becoming more than we were in that moment of choosing. You feel their long twilight then, the weight of endless repetition, of safety purchased at the price of growth, of love preserved by denying it the chance to deepen, to change, to risk itself in the service of something greater. They saved what they cherished, but in saving it, trapped it, made it precious but powerless, beautiful but barren. Until you came, the weaver adds, her eyes finding yours across the circle, until the heart, stone chose its new keeper, until someone arrived who could see the third path, the way between preservation and release, between safety and risk, between what was and what could yet become. The ancient figure materializes beside the great tree, not mysterious now, not terrifying, but familiar, a friend, a guide, a guardian of possibilities that stretch beyond ordinary understanding. The festival honors all choices. It says, its voice harmonizing with wind through leaves, with water over stones, with the slow breathing of growing things, past, present, future. All paths are sacred, all loves are holy, all wisdom is precious, even when, especially when, the choosing brings both gift and grief. The figure gestures toward the basket, in your hands due. But tonight, the pattern completes itself, the cycle closes, the festival becomes not just remembrance for, but transformation, not just honoring what was, but celebrating what is, what will be, what grows from the marriage of preservation and change. You lift the basket, feeling its contents shift and shimmer, memory gifts becoming something else, something new, as you tip them toward the base of the great tree. They flow like liquid light, like crystallized time, like love made visible, and where they touch the silver bark, the burned symbols begin to glow, to pulse, to sing with harmonies that reach beyond hearing, into the realm of direct knowing, direct feeling, direct truth. The tree responds, its light brightening, spreading, touching each villager, each face reflecting not the ghostly preservation of the between time, but the warm radiance of life renewed, life transformed, life that has learned the lessons of both safety and risk, both keeping and letting go, both memory and hope. And in that light, you see the true miracle of the third path. The village is not restored to what it was, nor transformed into something entirely new. It has become what it was always meant to be, a place where past and future meet, where wisdom and growth dance together, where love learns to honor both preservation and change, both safety and adventure, both roots and wings. The festival continues through the night, but it is no longer the festival of ashes, no longer a mourning for what was lost. It has become something else, a celebration of what was found, what was learned, what was born from the marriage of seeming opposites, a recognition that some choices transcend choosing, some paths lead beyond paths, some loves are large enough to hold all possibilities. As dawn approaches, as the first light touches the grove, you understand that your journey is not ending, but beginning. The village has found its new form, its new purpose, not as a museum of what was, but as a bridge between what was and what could be, a place where wisdom accumulates not through preservation alone, but through the courage to grow, to change, to risk everything for the sake of love and you. Keeper of the heart, stone, guardian of the third path, bridge between worlds, you have found your true calling, not to choose between alternatives, but to show that love, real love, is large enough to embrace all possibilities, wise enough to honor all truths, brave enough to transform what it touches into something more beautiful than what was, more hopeful than what might have been, more real than what could ever be, preserved unchanged. Chapter 50. The Choice Beyond Time. The weeks following the Festival of Ashes unfold like pages in an ancient book, each day revealing new layers of understanding, new depths to your role as keeper of the transformed village. You wake each morning not to the same repetitive dawn of the preserved twilight, but to genuine sunrises, each unique, each bringing possibilities that were not there the day before. The villagers have settled into their new existence with a grace that speaks of deep wisdom. They move through their days with the purposeful calm of those who have learned to value both continuity and change. The potter's wheel still turns, but now creates vessels that serve new purposes, bowls that hold not just food, but stories, conversations, connections that bridge the gap between what was and what is becoming. In the weaver's workshop, new patterns emerge on the loom, designs that incorporate the old symbols, the ancient knowledge, but arrange them in ways that speak to present needs, future possibilities, tapestries that tell not just the story of what has been preserved, but of what continues to grow, to evolve, to become more than the sum of its parts. You spend your mornings walking the village paths, no longer as explorer or visitor, but as one who belongs, who has found his place in the pattern. The cottages you pass show signs of gentle change. Windows repositioned to catch different light, gardens rearranged to accommodate new plantings, roof lines adjusted to shed rain more efficiently. The village grows, adapts, learns, without losing the essential character that makes it home. But it is during your evening walks, when the last light fades and the lanterns begin to glow, that you sense something new stirring, a presence at the edges of perception, not threatening, but significant, as if something or someone is approaching, drawing near through pathways you cannot quite perceive, cannot quite understand. Tonight, as you make your customary round of the village boundaries, checking the subtle barriers that protect this place from unwanted intrusion, you feel it more strongly, a disturbance in the peaceful rhythm that has characterized your days. Not danger, but change, transformation, approaching from directions you have not yet learned to navigate. You climb the familiar path to the grove where the Festival of Ashes transformed into something greater. The silver trees glow softly in the darkness, their light no longer the eerie phosphorescence of preserved memory, but the warm radiance of living wisdom. The great central tree stands, as always, but tonight its symbols pulse with unusual urgency, as if responding to some signal you cannot detect. The ancient figure awaits you among the trees, no longer mysterious, but still profound. Its star-filled eyes reflecting depths of knowledge that stretch beyond ordinary comprehension. The pattern shifts again. It says without preamble, its voice carrying notes of anticipation, of preparation, of change approaching on winds that blow from beyond the boundaries of normal time. Change. You ask, though part of you already knows, has been sensing the subtle alterations in the village's rhythm, the way conversations pause at certain moments, the way eyes turn toward horizons that hold more than ordinary sky. What kind of change? Haven't we found our balance, our path between preservation and growth? The figure's expression grows gentle, patient, the look of a teacher who must explain truths that transcend easy understanding. Balance is not stillness, it says. It is constant adjustment, constant response to new conditions, new challenges, new opportunities. The third path you discovered, the way of transformation. It does not end with a single choice. It requires choosing, again and again, each time circumstances shift. Each time the pattern demands evolution, as if summoned by these words. The villagers begin to emerge from their cottages, moving not with the urgency of alarm, but with the purposeful gathering that speaks of long preparation, of readiness for something they have been expecting, hoping for, perhaps even longing for. They carry bundles, packs, personal belongings carefully chosen and precisely arranged, as if for a journey. The eldest woman approaches, her silver hair braided with threads that catch and hold the light from the glowing trees. Her face serene, but marked by the particular intensity that comes with significant decisions. "Keeper," she says, and in her voice you hear both gratitude and gentle farewell. The time has come. The pattern completes its next turning. What was preserved, what was transformed, must now fulfill its deeper purpose. Understanding dawns slowly, like sunrise over mountains, like the gradual illumination that comes when complex truths finally arrange themselves into recognizable shapes. You're leaving, you say, not a question, but a recognition, an acceptance of what part of you has known was coming, must come. If the transformation is to be complete, the baker steps forward, his pack filled not with personal possessions, but with carefully wrapped loaves, seeds in small pouches, starter cultures in sealed containers, the portable essence of his craft, his contribution to whatever journey awaits. We have learned what we needed to learn, he says, his voice warm with satisfaction, with purpose fulfilled. In our long preservation, in our time between time, we discovered truths, developed wisdom, accumulated understanding that the world needs, that the future requires. The weaver adds her voice, her pack containing threads of impossible colors, patterns sketched on bark, techniques preserved from ages when craft was considered sacred. We were removed from time's river, not to remain forever separate, but to develop, to mature, to become something the world could not yet receive, but can receive now, must receive now. If balance is to be maintained, if wisdom is to survive the changes coming, you look around the circle of faces, each marked by the particular piece that comes with purpose discovered, with calling accepted, with love mature enough to risk everything for the sake of service. Oh, they are not fleeing, not abandoning what they have built. They are graduating, moving from students to teachers, from preserved wisdom to active gift. But the village, you begin, though even as you speak, you sense the answer. Feel it in the way the cottages seem to glow with inner light, in the way the paths pulse with accumulated memory, in the way the very air shimmers with preserved intention. What happens to all of this? The ancient figure moves closer, its presence no longer separate, but somehow integral to your own understanding. The village remains, it says, preserved not in amber awe, but in purpose. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a sanctuary for those who need time between time, a place of learning for those who must understand the balance between keeping and letting go, a bridge between what was, what is, and what must become. The implication settles over you like a warm cloak, like recognition of a truth you have always known but never articulated. I stay, you say, not with regret, but with understanding, with acceptance of the role that brought you here, that shaped you through trials and choices, that prepared you for exactly this moment, this purpose. I become the keeper, not just of the heart stone, but of the village itself, of the sanctuary, of the balance. The eldest woman smiles, an expression that transforms her entire face, makes visible the young woman she once was, the eternal spirit she has always remained. You understand, she says. This is not ending. It is beginning. The village will call others, those who are lost, who need to find their path, who must learn what we learned, choose what we chose, transform what we transformed, and you will guide them as you were guided, as the pattern requires, as love demands. One by one, the villagers approach, each offering something. Not goodbye, but gift, transmission, the sharing of what they have learned, what they have become, what they carry forward into whatever awaits them beyond the village boundaries. The potter places a small clay figure in your hands, a miniature version of the heart, stone, warm with its own inner light, its own purpose. The weaver offers a cord, woven from threads of every color, every texture, every possibility, to bind what should be connected. She says, to separate what should be distinct, to know the difference, and act accordingly. Her words carry the weight of deep understanding, of wisdom earned through patient practice, through careful attention to the relationships between things. The baker's gift is a seed, small and dark, unremarkable in appearance, but radiating potential that makes your fingers tingle to plant when the time is right. He explains, when the village needs renewal, when the pattern requires fresh growth, when preservation must give way to transformation once again, it will know the moment, as you will know, as love always knows. Each villager offers something similar, tools of guidance, tokens of wisdom, gifts that will help you fulfill the role that brought you here, that will sustain you through the long nights when the village seems empty, when the weight of solitude threatens to overwhelm the joy of purpose, when you must remember that being alone is not the same as being lonely, that serving is not the same as sacrificing, that keeping is not the same as hoarding. As the last gift is given, the last blessing bestowed, the villagers form a circle around the great tree one final time, their faces glowing not with preserved light, but with the radiance that comes from purpose fulfilled, from love expressed through action, from wisdom ready to serve. They join hands all, including you in their circle, making you part of their farewell, their blessing, their trust. The eldest woman's voice rises in a song that seems older than memory, older than words, a melody that speaks directly to the heart, to the soul, to the part of being that understands without needing explanation. The others join their voices to hers, creating harmonies that make the very air shimmer, that make the grove itself pulse with accumulated love, with gathered intention, with the focused will of those who have found their true calling. The song reaches a crescendo, and reality ripples around you, like water disturbed by stones, like air heated by flame, like the moment when all possibilities gather into a single point of infinite potential. The villagers begin to fade, not disappearing, but translating, moving from one state of being to another, from preserved existence to active service, from keepers of wisdom to teachers of truth. As they fade, their light does not diminish. Instead, it spreads, soaks into the trees, the ground, the very fabric of the village itself. They are not leaving. You realize they are expanding, becoming part of the place, part of its purpose, part of the sanctuary they helped create. Their wisdom, their love, their accumulated understanding, now woven into the foundations, available to all who come seeking, all who need guidance, all who must learn the lessons of balance, of choice, of transformation. The ancient figure remains, but changed, no longer separate from the village, but integral to it, part of its eternal function, its guardian spirit, its guiding intelligence. And so it begins again. It says, its voice now, carrying notes of every villager who has ever lived here, ever learned here, ever grown here. The pattern turns, the wheel revolves, the sanctuary awaits its next seekers, its next students, its next graduates. You stand alone in the grove, but not alone, surrounded by presence, by love made permanent, by wisdom transformed into living sanctuary. The heart, stone, no longer a separate object, though, but part of your very being, pulses with gentle warmth, with patient power, with the accumulated love of all who have served before you, all who will serve after you, all whose choices have shaped this place into what it was always meant to become. Days pass, or perhaps weeks. Time moves differently here. Not the frozen moment of preservation, not the rushing current of uncontrolled change, but something between, something that honors both permanence and progress, both stability and growth. You tend the village, not as caretaker of a museum, but as gardener of possibilities, as keeper of a space where souls can rest, learn, choose, transform. The first seeker arrives on a morning touched with mist. A young woman, lost not in forest paths, but in life itself, her face marked by the particular confusion that comes when all certainties crumble, when all assumed truths reveal themselves as fragile constructions. When the soul cries out for something solid, something real, something that can serve as foundation for whatever comes next. You greet her at the village edge, not with explanation, but with welcome, with the simple recognition that she belongs here, has always belonged here, has simply taken a longer path to arrive. You guide her to a cottage that arranges itself around her needs, walls that offer the right balance of shelter and openness, windows that frame views her spirit requires, a hearth that burns with exactly the warmth her heart needs. She speaks little at first, overwhelmed by the village's peace, by its sense of being set apart from ordinary concerns, by the way it seems to breathe with accumulated wisdom. You do not press, do not demand, do not explain. Instead, you show her the potter's wheel, the weaver's loom, the baker's ovens. Let her hands learn what her mind cannot yet accept. Let her body absorb what her thoughts cannot yet process. Slowly, as days accumulate, as her hands grow skilled, as her sleep grows peaceful, she begins to ask questions, to probe the mysteries that surround her, to sense the deeper currents that flow beneath the village's surface calm. You answer as you can, not with lectures, but with stories, with gentle guidance toward her own discoveries, with the patient love of one who has walked this path, who knows its challenges, its gifts, its transformative power. More seekers arrive, each drawn by their own desperate need, their own spiritual hunger, their own recognition that something essential is missing from the life they thought they understood. A man fleeing success that brought no satisfaction. A woman mourning love that died before it could fully bloom. An elder whose lifetime of certainties has crumbled, leaving him naked before mysteries he never suspected existed. Each finds in the village what they need. Not answers, but space to discover their own answers. Not solutions, but tools to craft their own solutions. Not transformation imposed from without, but support for the transformation that must come from within. You guide them all with the patient love of one who has learned that true teaching involves mostly listening, mostly creating safe space for others to unfold, mostly trusting the wisdom that lives within every soul. Some stay for days, some for seasons, some for years that pass like dreams. Each learns what they came to learn, chooses what they came to choose, becomes what they came to become. And when their time is complete, when their transformation is sufficient, they too gather their gifts, their accumulated wisdom, their hard-won understanding, and step back into the world's flow, carrying forward what they have received, sharing what they have discovered, becoming teachers themselves, bridges themselves, servants of the great pattern that weaves all things together. You watch them go with joy, not sorrow, knowing that their leaving is not loss, but completion, not abandonment, but graduation, not ending, but beginning. Each soul that finds its path, its purpose, its true calling, adds to the village's accumulated power, its capacity to serve, its ability to offer sanctuary to the next wave of seekers, the next generation of students, the next cycle of learning, growing, choosing, becoming. Years flow like a gentle river. You age, but slowly, touched by the village's timeless quality, by its existence between moments, between the rush of ordinary time and the stillness of eternity. Your hair silvers, your face gains lines. But these changes speak not of decay, but of deepening, of wisdom earned through service, of love matured through countless acts of guidance, of peace found through acceptance of purpose, of calling, of home. New keepers begin to appear, souls drawn not by personal need, but by the deeper calling, the recognition that service is not sacrifice, but fulfillment, that guidance is not burden, but privilege, that solitude in the service of love is not loneliness, but communion with the deepest truths. They learn from you as you learned from those who came before, taking on gradually, naturally, the responsibilities that once seemed overwhelming now feel like coming home. One evening, as autumn light slants, golden through the grove, you sit beside the great tree, its symbols pulsing gently with accumulated memory, with living wisdom, with the love of all who have served, all who have learned, all who have chosen transformation over stagnation, growth over safety, trust over fear. You feel a presence approaching, familiar, long awaited, long prepared for. The eldest woman emerges from the mist, not as memory, not as echo, but as living spirit, transformed by her years of service in the outer world, deepened by her teaching, refined by her sharing, made luminous by the love she has given, the wisdom she has spread, the lives she has touched. Behind her, the other villagers, each glowing with the particular radiance that comes from purpose fulfilled, from love expressed through action, from wisdom shared freely, from service rendered joyfully. Keep her, she says, and in her voice you hear not just her own tones, but the harmonies of all who have ever served this sanctuary, all who have ever chosen the third path, all who have ever discovered that some loves are large enough, deep enough, strong enough to embrace all possibilities. The pattern turns again. The wheel completes another revolution. The time of transition approaches. Are you ready? You look around the village, at the cottages glowing with welcome, at the gardens blooming with possibility, at the paths worn smooth by the feet of countless seekers, all finding their way, all discovering their truth, all choosing their transformation. You feel the weight of years, the accumulation of service, the deep satisfaction that comes from purpose discovered, from calling accepted, from love expressed through dedication to something larger than the self. Yes, you say, the word carrying all the peace, all the gratitude, all the joy of one who has found his place in the great pattern, who has served faithfully, who has given freely, Who has received abundantly? I am ready. The sanctuary is ready. The next keeper is ready. The pattern continues. The wheel turns. The love flows on. The villagers form their circle once more, including you, including the new keeper who has learned, who has grown, who has accepted the calling that brought them here. The ancient figure appears among the trees, its expression serene, approving, eternally patient, eternally loving, eternally present for those who need guidance, those who seek wisdom, those who choose transformation. The ceremony is simple, profound, the passing of responsibility, the sharing of accumulated love, the continuation of service that stretches back to the beginning, forward to whatever endings, whatever beginnings, whatever transformations await. You place your hands over the new keeper's heart. Feel the heart, stone's warmth transfer. Feel its light find its new home. Feel the village itself recognize. Accept, embrace its new guardian, and then, like the villagers before you, you begin to fade, not disappearing, but expanding, becoming part of the village itself, part of its accumulated wisdom, part of its capacity to serve, part of its eternal function as sanctuary, as bridge, as place of learning, as space for transformation, your individual existence dissolving into something larger, more complete, more perfect than anything you could have achieved alone. But this is not ending. You understand with perfect clarity as your consciousness expands, merges, becomes part of something infinitely greater. This is completion. This is coming home. This is the final discovery of what you were always seeking, what you were always meant to become, part of the great pattern, the eternal dance, the love that moves the stars, that guides the lost, that offers sanctuary to all who need it, that teaches the lessons of balance, choice, transformation, hope. The village continues, will always continue, a constant in a world of change, a bridge between what was and what will be, a sanctuary for souls in transition, a teacher of the third path, the way that honors all truths, embraces all possibilities, serves all love, and in serving, discovers the deepest truth of all. That ending is beginning. That completion is commencement. That every farewell is also always a welcome home. In the grove, the great tree pulses with gentle light, its symbols telling the story, all the stories, every soul that found its path, every choice that led to growth, every transformation that honored both what was preserved and what was risked, and what was born from their sacred marriage. The light spreads, touches every cottage or every path, every garden, every possibility, and somewhere on a hiking trail in an ordinary forest, a soul grows restless, begins to wander, hears the whisper of something calling, something needed, something that promises not answers, but the space to discover answers, not solutions, but tools for creating solutions, not transformation, but sanctuary for the transformation that must come from within. The pattern turns, the wheel revolves, the love flows on, eternal, inexhaustible, always present for those who need it, always ready for those who seek it, always welcoming those who choose it, in a village beyond time, where past and future meet, where wisdom and growth dance together, where every ending is also, always, a beginning, and the story continues. You will always continue, as long as souls need sanctuary, as long as hearts seek healing, as long as spirits hunger for transformation, as long as love calls to love, across the vast spaces between moments, between breaths, between heartbeats, between what was, what is, and what will be forever and ever, without end, the end, but also the beginning.